Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show.
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years.
So get ready! Get ready! Are you ready for some football?
You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. A weekly podcast about sports since 2011. With a focus on football. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. It's been a while.
It's been a little
It's
bit.
been a long time. Yeah, I think we're going on, 4.5 months since our last show? I think it was like end of July. Honestly, were you even on the last show we did?
Probably not.
I don't think you were.
No.
So it's definitely been almost 5 months since we had this show proper. This is episode 407 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. And I'm Joe Mays, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bittersweet, a little melancholy, because it just means Bulldog Hour is over.
That's true. That is true.
We had done 17 consecutive shows, 18 in total, for Bulldog Hour Season 10. Wilson football had a great year, 11-2, section champs, District 3 runner-up. And it was a lot of fun covering that football team from West Lawn, Pennsylvania. But Justin and I are back now to talk about the pros, and probably a little college too, because
It'll probably work its way in there.
not only did we miss the first 12 weeks of the NFL season, we missed the entire regular season of college football. But Penn State's 11-1 and going to the Big Ten championship.
Yes, they are. Yes,
And
they are.
not only are Penn State and Oregon going to the Big Ten championship, as your son so astutely pointed out yesterday, you
Yeah.
also let him know that
Yeah,
you're
we are
also going to the
Ten
Big Ten championship.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Looking forward to that.
Our,
we were going anyway. Like we were going.
Right.
We were going.
He
it's
didn't
just
know
kind of like
that,
a trip.
though.
No,
He
he
didn't
did
know.
not know that, because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to hold off. Once I knew it was a chance that Penn State was going to, I didn't think it was a good chance, but once I knew that there was a chance, I was like, you know what, I'm going to just hold off, and then once I know who is playing in the game, then I will tell him. And that worked out great.
It worked out perfectly. Thank you to friend of the show, Chad Henney's alma mater,
Yes.
the University of Michigan Wolverines, who, for the first time probably since 2007, I was cheering for a Michigan team to win.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Did not think it was going to happen.
However, in 2016,
That's true.
we
That's
we
true.
needed Ohio State to beat Michigan, but it was unexpected. Like, I think Michigan was maybe favored. Like, a lot of people thought Michigan would win that game. Michigan had a chance. I think it was in overtime.
Yeah.
I believe we were listening to that game on the way to the district championship game in Hershey.
Well, you're right, we were.
Yeah.
Because I knew we were together. I was like, we were in the car for that. Where
Yeah.
were we going?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we picked up Justin Burke and we're driving to the district championship game.
Which Wilson came from behind and won 28
And I
to
believe
14.
I believe that was the one. In my day, coaches ride the bus.
Yes. Oh, yes. So many great memories. Great memories. So our return for this show, 407. We're getting very close to 409, which
Yes.
Justin and I said we were going to have a fun episode for 409. The logistics have not been put in place yet.
Right.
There's discussions that need to be had. Unfortunately, the return of this show is probably going to be short-lived because
yes.
we're not going to have a show next weekend.
I won't be home
Justin will not be around, and I hate doing a show by myself, and I'm not sure I want to invoke anyone to come and join me right now. It's not something I've been thinking about. Honestly, because of the marathon that Bulldog Hour is, it'd probably be
okay.
okay to have a break, especially this time of year. And then it's my fault the next week that we won't have a show. Justin will be with me. We just won't be doing the show. What if I just decided we're just going to do a 2-hour live podcast during the birthday party? Just constantly.
Listen, there's
It's not the worst idea
there's-
we've ever had.
Oh, definitely not the worst idea we've ever had, which for our listeners gives them a glimpse as to some of the ideas that we've had.
Yes. No, so we're not available in 2 weeks either. The plan right now is to have a show in 3 weeks on December 22nd, unless Justin says otherwise. That would also put us possibly having a show on the 29th.
When are we having one?
Sunday the 22nd
Okay,
would be the
yes.
next possibility.
Yes.
That would be 408. So that
Should
means
be.
the one after that would be 409. Now,
I will not be here on that Sunday between Christmas and New Year's.
so the 29th is out, which might be a good thing because I don't know if I could make that work. Probably we'll have family visiting and we're not going to be taking time away from that. So we're looking to be the first Sunday in January then as 409, which is good for me to know so that I can start the wheels turning to figure out if we can do that. So what is that? What is that actual date then? The first Sunday, is that the 5th?
It's the
January 5th?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's what we'll aim for. And how does the college football playoff play out? There's games on the
Okay,
20th
so,
and 21st.
yes, and then the 31st, there's one game,
okay.
and then 3 games on the 1st.
Okay.
Those are the
So
four
then there
of
are-
your quote unquote New Year's Six bowls. What used to be New Year's Six bowls.
Okay.
One on the 31st, and 3 on the 1st.
So there will be no games on the 4th and 5th then.
Just NFL. Is that weeks?
Well, I'm sorry, college
Yes,
wise, yeah.
But there are no college games on that day.
Okay, so when are the next college games then?
Not until the following weekend. So there's like 10 days, I think.
And that would be the semifinals.
Right. So maybe like
I guess I could just pull that up
Right.
instead of just trying to have you pull it out of your head because honestly I was just hopeful that it mattered.
No, exactly.
So let's see what it says here. Playoff schedule straight from the horse's mouth. NCAA.com. Justin loves that website, including the Big Ten website too.
NCAA.com.
Great site. Yeah. So the first game in the first round. So that would be the 5 through 12 matchups because 1 through 4 will have a bye. So it's Friday, December 20th, 8:00 on ABC, ESPN. Then there's a triple header on Saturday the 21st, noon, 4 and 8. The first 2 are on TNT. The late game is on ABC, ESPN. So the quarterfinals are New Year's Eve, Fiesta Bowl, 7:30. These are all on ESPN the
Right.
rest of the way. Then on New Year's Day, triple header, Peach Bowl, 1 p.m., Rose Bowl, 5 p.m.,
And then the Sugar Bowl start
8:45.
time. 8:45 start time.
That's rough.
Right. On New Year's.
You know what? I'd be okay if I'm complaining about that, though.
Yeah.
If I'm complaining about the Sugar Bowl, I
Well,
don't
no, see-
honestly.
see,
I think we would be
what
in the Rose
what
Bowl.
I think.
wouldn't
What
we?
I think. Well, I don't know. It depends. I think what I want to happen is we win the Big Ten and go to the Rose Bowl, and that be our quarterfinal game.
Semifinals are January 9th and 10th. Orange Bowl Thursday, January 9th. Cotton Bowl Friday, January 10th. And look at those start times: 7:30.
Yes.
Perfect. Absolutely. Look at the national championship Monday, January 20th. Atlanta, Georgia. Again, ESPN. 7:30. They are learning. They are
So
learning.
Wait, what? So semifinals
January
are
9th and 10th.
Oh,
Thursday,
back-to-back
Friday.
days. Perfect.
Yep. One game each night. Thursday,
Oh,
the
and
9th,
Thursday, Friday.
Friday 10th. Yep.
Oh,
to
that's-
avoid the NFL.
Right. That's awesome. Now, is that the first weekend of playoffs for the NFL,
I
or
think
is that week
would
18?
be no. I think that would be wild card weekend. I believe. Let me verify that here. So week 18, January 5th is week 18. January 4th
Okay.
and 5th would be week 18.
So that's going to be an awesome. So
So-
at New Year's, you're going to have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You're going to have the games, the quarterfinal games. Then you're going to have the last week of the regular season. Then Thursday, Friday, you're going to have
This Final Four in
the
college football.
semifinals. Then you're going to have playoff football Monday or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because there's that Monday night game again, right?
And then we'll go into the next weekend of NFL play,
Right.
which would be the divisional round. And then after the divisional round, you have the national championship game that Monday.
I can handle that.
Wild. I hope this all matters. I hope all of this matters.
yeah.
I hope it's very important to us. I mean, next time we do this show, Justin, since it will be 3 weeks from now, we will obviously know what happened in the Big Ten Championship. We will know if Penn State got a bye in the first round or if they had to play in the first round.
Right. And if they play in the first round, it will be a day or two after removed from that.
It could be the day after.
Right. Which
Depending.
I'm really hoping that if they play in that round, they're hosting in that round.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll get into that. Well, let's go into it right now. Penn State's 11-1. Season right now feels like it's going to be a success.
Yeah.
Because you won all your games except one. Unfortunately, it was to Ohio State at home, where you didn't play great.
Right.
Could have won that game. Did not. However, you are now in the Big Ten championship game with a possibility to win the conference. You're making the appearance for the first time in 8 years.
This time next week, you have a chance to be the number one team in the country.
You could be ranked number one. You will be ranked number one if you win, I would think.
Yeah, yeah.
I would think.
That's what a lot of people assume. If they beat Oregon, to beat Oregon's only loss, a lot of people think Penn State would be number one.
Although, so who's 2 right now? Texas?
2 is Texas.
Well, they got to play in the SEC championship against Georgia.
They'd have to play Georgia, who they already lost to. But Georgia, while good, isn't as high as Oregon. So, it would be a better win for Penn State to beat Oregon than Texas to beat Georgia on paper. I'm not and honestly, I think it would be a better win. Georgia got lucky. That was clear targeting. Now, Georgia Tech had chances to win, and I said it watching it live in the first overtime when they scored their touchdown and they go to kick the extra point. I say to my wife, why are they trying to extend the game? Georgia's the better team. When you're not the better team, you want to shorten the game. You want to shorten this game. Let's take our chance and win it. Instead, they went 8 overtimes and lost. So Georgia Tech did plenty to lose as well. However, the fumble that then allowed Georgia to tie up was clear targeting. And not only did they not review it for targeting, they didn't even mention it on the broadcast.
Right.
Nothing. The kid comes in, lowers his helmet, crown of the helmet to the face mask. The ball pops out, and they don't even mention that it was possibly targeting. It was textbook targeting. I don't know. And I know I heard someone talking today, and the bit was they were making a case for South Carolina to be the last SEC team in because they started out 3-3.
Tired of the SEC.
They started out 3-3, and they've won 6 in a row. And they're like, well, if it weren't for a bad call, they would have lost. They would have beat LSU. No, we're not going on that because if it weren't for a bad call, Georgia loses to Georgia Tech. So if you want to go by how calls should have gone, then they should be out. And Miami should be out because Virginia Tech got a touchdown on a Hail Mary, and then without any evidence, they overturned it. You're not going into correcting bad calls with the use of the playoff committee. That's not what the playoff committee can do. So
should we go into the debate? And I'm not even sure how it's a debate of good wins versus bad losses, or bad wins versus good losses, if that's a thing. So you play the schedule in front of you. Yes. You have to win those games.
Right.
I don't want to hear that this schedule is, quote, more difficult. You have literally, and we learn it every single week during every single football season. College, high school, pro, it doesn't matter. The games on the field matter.
Yeah.
What happens there matters. You can't get into hypotheticals, as the Big 12 shot right back at the SEC recently.
Right.
I don't care about your supposed strength of schedule. I care about the results on the field.
Right.
And the results on the field show that, there are some probably very good to great teams in the SEC that were caught by not so good teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
You're losing to sub 500 teams, 500 or sub 500 teams.
Georgia could have lost to Kentucky this year. There were so many bad, Ole Miss lost a bunch of games they shouldn't have lost. Alabama lost at Vanderbilt.
Tennessee,
Right.
Alabama, Georgia.
Tennessee lost to Arkansas. And look, it's college football. You're going to get one, especially in the expanded playoff. You're going to get one. They'll give you one. But guess what they're not going to do? You don't get three. You don't get three
Right.
passes. You'll
get one. Some will get two. Like those SEC teams, if they had
you know
two.
who deserved two passes? Florida. Because if you saw their schedule was absolutely ridiculous. But I also go, and this kind of ties into that. When you're like, well, they have this really hard strength of schedule. They played all these ranked teams. No. Don't give me ranking as the strength of schedule, because that's artificially inflated to help the SEC to begin with. You look at a bunch of those teams and it's like, okay.
Well, look how long it took Indiana to even break into the top 25.
Right.
How many wins did they have to get? Because they're nobody to, the blue bloods in college football. So no one was going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, they didn't look great against Ohio State, and that was their toughest game this year, but they won all the other games that were put in front of them. So I hope they make it into the field. I hope they don't get left out.
I think they're good to get in.
So we'll
especially
see.
with some of the other chaos that had happened. If there were a lot of if these SEC teams were sitting here with 2 losses, then I think Indiana's worried. But
they all
with,
have 3.
With 3, I think
Who
they're
is
good.
Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee's fine, and Georgia's fine. Those
Tennessee's fine, Georgia's fine, Texas is fine.
Texas, right?
Right.
Long-time SEC staple, Texas.
Yes, exactly.
So, look, I know people have their issues and their own thoughts on James Franklin.
100%.
And does the Ohio State one sting again this year? Yeah, 100%
Absolutely.
it still does. And no one knows that better than him.
Right.
I know people have issues with him, and his game management has been called into question. And is he tinkering or getting in the way with the offense? Because other than a few years with Moorhead, it hasn't been great. Because even this year, Kotelnicki seems to be better than Yurcich, but there's times where you're like, what is happening?
Right.
So I get it. But Justin, this comes up all the time, and you and I are on the same page, much like we usually are. When it comes to a lot of sports things, we are on the same page a lot. And we both think the same thing about James Franklin. He is a very good to great coach. He has the ability to become great. No holds barred, constant year in and year out. He can be there. He can get there because he's a fantastic recruiter. He just has some issues that he has to overcome. I know there are people saying that Penn State should constantly be a top 5 team, competing with the best of the best that the SEC has to offer.
Not to sound like James Franklin here, but to that, and I know I'm cutting you off, but to that, I would say he is doing more with less. If he does that, he's doing more with less. And I mean that in terms of the resources. Yes, Penn State has given him a lot, and they've done all these different things. But you want to talk about let's wait and see what the playoff field is made of, and specifically by at-large teams, right? And let's look at some of the at-large teams, and then let's see where I'd love to see NIL spending, and I know that's hard to figure out, but the numbers are out there. People have those numbers, or at least estimates of those numbers. I want to see NIL funding and some of those things for programs, because I'm going to tell you, I bet out of the 12 teams that make the playoff, I bet Penn State's not in the top 6. I'd be willing to bet that.
I was going to say, I think Penn State is honestly a fringe top 20 team when it comes to NIL.
Yeah.
A fringe top 20 team. They're not in the same stratosphere as the bulk of the big-time SEC programs.
Right.
Same can be said for Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, just look at what just happened. I mean, Ohio State's supposed to have this dream team this year, 20 million plus.
Right.
Michigan just dropped 10 million over 4 years.
$10.5 million to get Connor Stalions quarterback.
to bring in just a quarterback. Penn State is nowhere close to that. So he is operating with his hands handcuffed. He's handcuffed a little bit until things get moving.
Right. And you know what could help that?
Winning.
1 or 2 more wins this year. I mean, a bunch more wins would definitely help. But you win a few games between now and Martin Luther King Day, and you're helping your cause there.
So I don't think they have to win the Big Ten title next weekend if they would then host and win a playoff game for the season to be seen as a
Correct.
success.
They need one win. They need another win.
Yes, you're right. So I think if they win
in
the Big
either
Ten,
or.
they're conference champs. You can put up the numbers on Beaver Stadium. You can talk about that then forever. But then they would lose in the essentially Elite Eight
Right. But like if they were to
in
lose,
a bowl game,
right?
in a neutral site against probably going to be a pretty good team.
Right. Like if they lost to like Texas,
Texas,
who drops because they lose to
Texas
Georgia,
or
like,
Georgia or Notre
right.
Dame. Like, I don't know how the seeds
if they
are gonna
lose in a
work out,
respectable
but
game, I know there will be people who jump on, oh, you folded as the 1 seed, but like you lose a close game.
one
to
or
like
two,
a,
one or two, top 3 for
Right.
sure. But yeah, I mean, they win the Big Ten. It's like no matter what happens in the CFP, I will be happy.
Yes,
Like,
I'll
winning
be
the Big
disappointed at the
Ten-
moment, but like they've got something. They've got something to hang their hat on.
12-1 Big
Right.
Ten champs.
Because if they win a game yet, if they win one game yet, it's their best win of the season, right? Like
Right.
it's their best win of the season. Whether
Yeah.
it's Oregon or any playoff contender, it would be their best win of the season. And therefore, like it will be a success in that regard.
And a lot of the Franklin haters or the ones that want to see him gone, I have two things to say. Well, they always like, oh, it's loser mentality. You're okay with a 10 and 11 win season. I'm like, do you know how hard it is to win 10 and 11 games year in and year
10,
out?
11, and taking a shot at it.
It's the first time in 40 years Penn
Right.
State's done what they did the last
Right.
3 years.
Oh, and
40 years.
You act like most of the time the games have been competitive. Most of the times with
Right,
the
1
teams.
point losses to Ohio State more often than not,
Right.
or one possession losses.
right.
So yeah, is it frustrating? 100% is frustrating. But my second thing to the haters, the James Franklin haters, is who are you going to get that can guarantee you to get over the hump?
Yeah, because there's a perfect example, and we talked about it this
Well,
weekend.
There's perfect examples all over the nation.
Yeah.
Nebraska stands out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
Florida, look at Florida now.
Right.
Holy
Right.
Lord.
And to his credit, he did a heck of a job this year. They were trying to run him out after the
Right.
first month of the season,
Well-
and he went 6-6, I think. 6-6. But arguably SEC Coach of the Year.
Right.
Like they were talking a game or two into the season, everybody was talking about how he was going to be fired by Columbus Day. And he makes it through the season at 6-6. I mean, I know it probably goes somewhere else, but like actually it's probably Beamer. Beamer might be Coach of the Year in the SEC. And that's fine. But like to go 6-6 when everybody was saying how you're the worst. And honestly, if Florida plays Miami now, I think I'm taking Florida. I know Miami only has 2 losses, but they can't stop anyone.
Right.
You know,
So, but that's my, like, who are you getting? Because
Right.
look at Nebraska, look at Florida,
Wisconsin.
look at Wisconsin, even look at Florida State.
yeah.
Like
Mike.
Jimbo Fisher, well, look at Texas A&M.
Yep.
The list, LSU ran off their national championship coach,
Yeah.
and now what are they? Not a playoff team.
Right. And how crazy is it that people were not happy with Marcus Freeman, and he's had his bumps, but he's young. He's a young coach. He's had his bumps in the road. But guess what? He has come back, and he has really, like, which program is in a better spot right now? Notre Dame or LSU?
Notre Dame. 100%.
And it's not close. It's not close.
So it's just be careful what you wish for
Right.
when it comes to that. Because I would much rather take, and I know there are a ton of people that would be like, that's just a loser's mentality.
Because-
I would take
but-
10, 11 win seasons with more often than not making the CFP as an at-large versus
And taking a shot.
maybe a chance to be an 11 to 12 win team, always making the CFP, maybe winning a
and
national
getting a
championship,
chance.
or dropping off to 5, 6, 7 wins a year. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, that's bonkers to me that people are willing to roll the dice like that. Because it's not only one loss season; it's 3, 4, 5 years.
Because it's also like guaranteed. Like, who are you going to take? Like, I want you to guarantee me. Who are you getting that's going to guarantee me quarterfinal or semifinal appearances every year? Like, who are you going to get that guarantees me that?
who wants the job too? It's not in a great location.
It's not.
Despite, I love Penn State.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love State College.
But
it is not a premier location.
Let's look at the other. Again, I want to do a comparison of who's doing more with less when we get these 12 playoff teams.
You mean based on like recruiting stars and
And just like
so look,
things.
we'll fire up college football 25 and go through the checklist of all the things
Right,
you need to have a
exactly.
great program. Where does Penn
Get rid
State
of the
fall?
ball, Jalen.
Because look, the location is not ideal. It's a great college town, but in terms of getting people outside of the Northeast or the Midwest to come there, because unfortunately, and Justin, you and I talked about this disappointingly, that Pennsylvania is no longer a hotbed for high school recruits.
In terms of bulk, like they still
Right.
produce high-end
They're
players.
still blue chippers,
Right. They still produce
but
high-end
the
players.
amount is not there anymore.
No, it's not top
It's
10
trended
anymore
down-
by a lot of people.
It's trending downward in the
when
last 20
we were in
years.
school, you could make it clearly
Top
a top five.
Top five.
And arguably many years you could say
Top
it was
three.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like Florida, Texas, California, but now
Well, it was Florida, Texas, California, and then it was either Georgia, Pennsylvania, Ohio,
Right.
depending on the
right,
year.
we're all right there. Now Georgia's way up there.
Georgia,
Ohio's still
Alabama,
up there.
Like it's unfortunate. Like
Yeah.
Pennsylvania's at best a fringe top 10 state now.
Right. So you have to what it takes to recruit is harder. Oh, and by the way, NIL is a whole aspect to this now. Like there's just a lot that goes into it.
Well, and Penn State has some big time boosters and benefactors, but they're also focused on building buildings.
Right.
They're also
right.
making changes to the field.
Right,
Beaver
right,
Stadium's undergoing
right.
a massive renovation,
Which-
costing a lot of
which-
money.
You got to spend money to make money because if you can start bringing in more things there, you can do all that stuff. Man, they should get. I'm telling you, they should host Bills preseason game. Like use the Pagula thing for everything it's worth.
You already got an ice rink out of it. Might as well
Right,
dream
right.
bigger. So, but yeah, look, James Franklin absolutely frustrates me at times, and we get very, very
absolutely.
upset with Penn State constantly losing to Ohio State. I don't like that. Oh, can't beat Michigan. I was like, Michigan was irrelevant until the last 3 years.
When they cheated, like seriously, when they cheated, like
I love the I don't understand.
you can say whatever you want. Like until Stallions was on the staff, they didn't do anything.
They were awful up through 2020. It's literally 21, 22, 23.
Right. And his record against Michigan is not the same as the record against the other teams.
Ohio State.
Right.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, Ohio State.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, okay. But so, yeah, I mean, if you want to say I'm a Franklin defender, go ahead. That's fine. Because until you can prove otherwise, I'm sticking by him 100%.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that doesn't mean you have to blindly support it. And blindly be like, oh, he's the best.
You can still
I'm not-
question decisions,
Right. I'm not saying
but I don't want to run him off.
it's I know this is a different topic, but it's kind of like NFL quarterbacks, right? My quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was not Patrick Mahomes. You're right. He's not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no
but
one
is he
is.
good enough to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback? Yes, he is. He is. He's played well enough in the Super Bowl to win. So that shows me that he's good enough. Now, that doesn't mean he always plays like that, but he is. And you don't need to have the best head coach in college football. You need a guy who is good enough. And I think they do. Because to be honest, we already talked about those disadvantages that Penn State often has. Who do you need? You need a really strong recruiter and to try and maximize what you can in that area. And that's what he's got. Now, they need to throw money at Koltoniki, I think, because he's already going to be interviewing for the West Virginia job that has opened up.
Did they fire Neil Brown?
They fired Neil Brown, and Koltoniki is listed as one of their guys that are going after. Now, thankfully, West Virginia's not on the schedule anymore. But that's another school. West Virginia, there's some weird NIL money that goes in there. And I know people don't like the NIL deal, but this is another thing you and I have said forever. We said it when the transfer portal opened up. You can think whatever you want about it. You can think whatever you want about NIL, but guess what? It's here, and I want Penn State to be good at it.
Right.
That's
Look, they're not going to get any money from me. I have no money to
right,
give them.
right.
I don't even buy season tickets.
right. But look, that's what it is, and I want them to be good at it. I don't have to like it
How about
to want them to be good.
How about they improvise, adapt, and overcome? How about you figure it out?
Right. Well, and again, we can talk about this more once the 12 teams are set.
Right.
But like, there's some people in there, and yeah, they're doing a great job. But like, yeah. Well, and it's not all great for the guys. Whew, Ryan Day's in a tough spot, man.
Well, and like, look, I understand like the game is important, and being 1-4 in your contest, including losing 4 straight, and that team winning the national championship last year, like that's all awful. But who are they going to get that's going to do better?
And here's the other
I feel like
thing.
it's the same conversation.
Right. Here's the other thing.
Do you honestly believe that Ohio State's never going to beat Michigan again? Like that's ludicrous.
Right.
Ludicrous.
Right. And if he wanted it, Ryan Day would have a job the next day after he's out of Ohio State. The next day, if he wanted it. People would fire their coach to hire Ryan Day. Like, and again, I'm not a huge Ryan Day fan,
Right.
but like,
No, I still laugh at the overreaction he had after the Notre Dame game last year.
yes,
I'm just like, what? Well, also,
dude,
honestly,
if Lou Holtz is living rent free in your head, like,
right, yeah,
you, not in the 1990s, Lou Holtz
No,
in the 2020s,
yeah.
he's living rent free in your head.
no.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
however, and we said this. Now there is an argument to be had. Somebody said, because I said this to you, it was another tough weekend for the the expanded playoffs going to make all these games not matter, because it sure doesn't feel that way when you're watching them.
no man.
Like,
well, there were 7
and
fights.
somebody
yesterday?
said, except for the fact that Ryan Day would have been fired today. Like, Ryan Day would have been fired because they wouldn't be in the playoff. They would have lost out on the Big Ten championship with no chance of going to the 4-team playoff. So, like, he probably would have been fired today. And it's hard to argue against that, like that in that one instance. But the person did turn it to be like, yeah, but like there is all this drama still because, what happens? Like, does he? Basically, the conversation has shifted. Does he need to win the national championship, or if he wins 1 or 2 games in the playoff, that's that, buy him some time, like. But I thought the Athletic article does a great job of also rephrasing this question of, does Ryan Day even want to stay at Ohio State?
Right.
Like,
I didn't get to read the article
way he
yet.
gets treated, and that might be misplacing it. The way that situation has evolved, does he even want to stay? I obviously can't answer that, and he would obviously say yes.
I heard UCF has an opening.
They do.
So I don't. Anything else about college football? Penn State. We kind of started with that before we dive into our pro football talk here.
No, I mean I'm really excited. I'm excited because it's Penn State is in the thick of things. I'm excited because I'd love to see, Penn State. I think they need to win 1 more.
No, I completely agree. For it
winning
to
2
be-
more is a glowing success. Either way, because even if they lose to Oregon but win their first round game at home, possibly, and then win a quarterfinal game to go to the Final Four, that would be just absolutely amazing. So,
Yeah, I don't know what to think if they lose to Oregon and then lose the playoff game. That makes me a little bit.
that'd be tough.
That was a little tougher.
But let me see, and it is tougher. But let me see who that is, because again, if they lose to let's say they lose to Georgia, it probably isn't going to be Georgia. But if they're to lose, you're like, oh, okay, what?
right.
A lot of it'll come down to that matchup. But hey, I know there's some people, just real quick. I know there's some people who are like, well, they might have been better off not playing. No, you win games. You go win games. You play to win championships. Let's win the Big Ten. The idea is to be playing as long as you possibly can, and that's where, if that means you didn't get the bye this week, but maybe you win the Big Ten championship and then you get a bye, because you're now one of the top 4 seeds. Great.
Fantastic. This is annoying. All I want to do is see my email. So NFL wise,
Eagles just took over at the Baltimore 42 after they stopped them 3-and-out.
Stupid.
No, not stupid.
That's
Wonderful.
really stupid. I needed Lamar Jackson to do something for a change. He hasn't done anything all year. It's one of the only reasons that I'm probably good this year. Again, good again. You know, I'm about to take over the league like you did. So, all right, let's see if I. Oh God. Again, what is it
All right.
doing?
So we're gonna shift to NFL, right?
Yeah, we're shifting to NFL. And
So if you don't hear us talk about Penn State on the show very much from here on out, things did not go well.
right. I hope we are. I hope we are talking about them a lot. I hope that's where we're going, because it would be a lot of fun if that were the case. All right, I hate everything about this. Okay, so email. Here we go. I have our predictions from May, June, and July is when we did that. So,
Oh gosh.
yeah, let's revisit these. Some are okay, some are not okay. So most teams have played 12 games. Some have played 13.
I know there's another bye next week because
there's
Washington
buys.
has their bye next week.
So does Baltimore. So does I think like New England and Indianapolis.
It's
Maybe
a long way to go without having your bye.
Yeah, very much so. And it also is the first week of playoffs in our fantasy league. So you want to be one of the top 6 teams so you don't have buys to worry about. All right, so let's start in the NFC, Justin. I'm going to go in the order that my uncle has
That's
them
fine.
written here. So we're going to go NFC North, South, East, and West. We all picked the Lions to win. That's probably going to happen.
Right. It was a good pick by us. However, man, that division is tough.
is wild. I had Packers and Bears in 2 and 3, and both making the playoffs. One of those will be true, most likely. Justin, you had just the Packers making the playoffs in second. My uncle also had the Packers in second, and my dad had the Packers in second making the playoffs. So I was the only one that went out on a limb. And about a month ago, I didn't feel too bad about the Bears making the playoffs, but
No.
things have not
Then they
gone
lost
well.
6 in a row.
The Bears have not
That
done well.
loss that was awful. Not to lose is bad. The way they lost was unacceptable.
We all definitely missed on the Vikings, who are definitely in line for a wild card playoff. We had them all in 4th.
Sam Darnold.
Renaissance man. Right. In the South,
would they be in this spot if they had J.J. McCarthy as the quarterback?
No.
I 100% agree.
In the South, we all only had one team making the playoffs, which is probably accurate. We all had the Falcons winning the division. Now, who was second, third, and fourth was up for debate. I went with the Bucks. So did you, Justin. My uncle went with the Saints, as did my dad. Oh. We all had the Panthers finishing last. So Falcons, Bucks, I think, is probably going to be what happens, although Kirk Cousins is trying his best to make it the Baker Mayfield show with Tampa Bay.
And the calls for Penix were loud today.
Yes. In the NFC East, we all picked the Eagles. That's looking very good. We also all had the Cowboys in second and making the playoffs, which doesn't look as good. We should have
Don't tell Micah that, though.
We should have all gone with our gut and flipped the Commanders with the Cowboys because Washington's in position
Eagles
to take.
just converted a 4th down, and Baltimore only has 1 timeout left. 5:20 left. I bet he gets 3 yards.
In the NFC West, we were all wrong on that. The 49ers is who we had winning it, but it is most likely going to be, I guess, Seattle is going to win that, you think? Maybe?
Who are the Rams winning right now?
Winning their game?
Yeah.
They won. They beat the Saints 21-14.
Okay, I think this. I might put my money on the Rams. I know the Eagles beat them, but I just think they're pretty good.
Dolphins beat them too. For what it's worth. Not much, apparently.
I was gonna say it, but then I'm like, nah, I don't need to.
So Seahawks
Kick a
have a
man when he's
one-game
down.
lead over the Cardinals and Rams. 49ers are lurking in last place at 5-6, and they play Buffalo tonight in the blizzard,
Yeah.
or the remnants of the blizzard.
But man, they are decimated by injuries. It kind of happens when you play extra games. It's the NFL. It happens. It just happens sometimes. But they really have been decimated by injuries.
So
Some of which they didn't really disclose before the season, and people then end up taking, making fantasy picks accordingly. But whatever.
we all picked the Rams in second, and no, my uncle has you picked the Seahawks in second because you had them as a wild card.
That's not a bad one though.
And no, it's not. And my uncle and my dad had the Rams making it as a wild card. I did not have anyone from the NFC West making it besides the division champ, which I had the 49ers. So Lions, Falcons, Eagles all look pretty good there. Riding with the Packers. We whiffed on the Cowboys, and we weren't sure what's going on in the NFC West. In the AFC, honestly, this is again like 3 out of 4. Actually, I'm the only one that may have screwed up the AFC North. What's going on with the Bengals? Like, it's ridiculous. How did that defense get so bad so quickly?
I don't know.
Because
Like,
they were
that's-
a pretty good unit last year. People were talking about
Yes.
Lou Anarumo as one of the best coordinators in the league.
Yeah.
And they gave up 44 points to the Steelers today.
Yeah.
Look, I know Pittsburgh's a
I
decent
think they've
team
played
this
110
year.
times. Might be the highest. It's the highest scoring game in the NFL this year, but it's one of the highest scoring ever in that.
But I feel like
series.
that's been week in and week out. Look at their game against the Ravens. Wasn't it 44-41 or something like that?
Yeah.
The defense can't stop anyone.
No.
So the Bengals are, 4-8 now? And I had them winning the Super Bowl. Winning the Super Bowl, I think. Or did I have the Lions?
I think you had
Lions beat Bengals. Yeah, okay. So I could still get the Super Bowl champ right.
You
I'll
could.
hang my hat on that. But I whiffed
I
on
hope,
the Bengals.
I hope you don't, but that's all right.
I whiffed on the Bengals. I don't know what this. I did have Ravens winning or making the wild card. I did have Steelers in third and the Browns in last. The rest of you all had Bengals making it as a wild card with the Ravens winning the division. Still possible, although you all had the Steelers in last. Every
We're
one
wrong
of you,
there.
Steelers in
And man,
last.
Russell Wilson threw for over 400 yards today.
I mean, he's looking much better than he did in Denver.
He did. Yeah, he is. He is. Man.
AFC South probably.
Oh, and they're
gonna
not
be-
even paying him. Denver's paying him this year.
right. So AFC South probably going to be the Texans. They've got a 2-game lead over the Colts, and I'm not sure what the tiebreaker they may have the tiebreaker there too. I'm not certain if they beat the Colts once. They beat the Colts twice, so
So essentially,
so
a
essentially a 3-game lead for the Houston Texans. They don't look as good as I think
no
people expected them to
But,
be.
but to be fair, I think this is kind of a year 2 kind of thing. They got
Teams are
They got the
adjusting.
win today, right? They won
Yes,
today.
they did win
so,
today.
So maybe they're weathering some of this storm, and we'll see. It's tough, but I think they'll be all right.
The Colts, Titans and Jaguars are bad. Jacksonville's really bad. They've lost 5 in a row.
You didn't see it, did you?
What?
Trevor Lawrence got knocked
Oh, I did.
out.
I did see that.
Trevor Lawrence, man, that was a scary one.
Yeah.
But man,
So the West Chiefs. We all went Chiefs. Everyone. It'd be silly not to go Chiefs. Then we all had Chargers second, with you, me, and my dad picking the Chargers to make the playoffs, which looks pretty good. We all whiffed on the Broncos, though. We had them in fourth, and
Hey.
they are challenging for a playoff spot as well.
and Bo Nix looks.
He might be overtaking Jaden Daniels as the possible offensive rookie of the year.
Jane Daniels had a heck of a day
He had a-
today.
he
I think
did have a
threw
good
for 4 or
game
5
today.
touchdowns
Yep.
today.
Over
Aga-
the last month, Bo
Against the
Nix had
Titans. Yes.
closed
Yes.
the gap.
Yes, and Bo Nix has been more steady. And do they play tomorrow night? Maybe, because I think every team plays this weekend
They
because
do,
of
so
the
they
weird
must
wacky
be-
schedule.
yeah.
So they must play tomorrow. And so, like, you get that.
Yeah, Browns Broncos tomorrow, 8:15.
That's a game that the Broncos need to win.
Yeah, they have to win that.
Now, I'm not saying I'm not guaranteeing they will, because that would be, you've got the rookie quarterback, you've got those things, but yeah, that's a game you got to win. My brother-in-law will tell you that is a game the Broncos will lose.
He would fit right in. He
Oh,
would fit right
absolutely.
in with
Although
our
the way the
discussions.
Eagles game started today, so one of his new favorite things, having never lived here until the last few months, he's like, Philly Sports Talk Radio is crazy. I'm like, yes. He's like, no. Like, he's like, I don't think you understand. He's like, it's not like that in every city when you like, oh. And so, like, the way the Eagles game started, where they didn't get they got a first down on the first play and then not another one until the second quarter. He was like, oh man, he's like, I'm already firing up the radio to listen. Cause like, he's just like, kind of like, get your popcorn ready. He's not like hating on the Eagles stuff. He's just like, this is entertainment for him. But yeah, like it's, the Denver thing, hey, they've got it going.
7-5, 1-2 in a row. Raiders have lost 8 in a row. They look awful at 2-10. Chargers are 8-4. Chiefs 11. 3-game lead for the Chiefs. Probably theirs to lose. Although honestly,
What, they've won 11 one-score games or something this year?
yeah, they're playing with fire a little bit. It's not the same Kansas City team from the last few years,
However,
but
have
until
they
proven
entered
otherwise.
the regular season? Doesn't matter. Make the playoffs and then you win.
Well, which is what they did last year. Essentially, they didn't have the bye, they didn't have home field advantage, and it didn't matter. They have Andy Reid, they have Patrick Mahomes. Their defense is playing incredible. Until someone knocks them off when it matters. Like I know that they lost to the Bills the other week. Until it happens in January or February, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
They've earned it. So, I feel like they're on their way to probably like a 14-win season.
Right.
Maybe more. I don't know. We'll see. But we got that one pretty. Chiefs Chargers, we were pretty good there. See what happens with Denver. Only a game back of the Chargers. But in the AFC East, me, you, and my uncle went with the Bills. My dad did humor me and take the Dolphins. I think things could have definitely been different if Tua didn't get hurt and miss.
Well, and that's what I was
4
going to say to you.
games.
Like, that game hurt on Thanksgiving night, but it's magnified because of some of those losses that we talked about
Right.
last week, that you were mentioning last week.
Right. Well, they shouldn't have lost to the Colts. They shouldn't have lost to the Cardinals, and they very well could have beaten the Bills in that second matchup. All those were last-second, one possession, field goal or less. The Bills one might have been one of them might have been a touchdown. It might have been the Bills game, but they were in those games late, and they just couldn't finish the job. Tua missed at least 2 of those. Like, I feel I know it's crazy because of what we just talked about college football, but like in my head, if Tua plays against the Colts and Cardinals, did he play against the Cardinals?
I don't
I see. Now I'm getting all confused because there
But
were
either
2.
way, they lost some. Now the
It's
Cardinals
just-
are better than I anticipated.
They are, but yeah, if they wanted a shot at making the playoffs, they needed to win on Thanksgiving night, and that's a tough ask going to Green Bay on
Right,
Thanksgiving
who
night.
only has 3 losses and
Right.
is in 3rd place in their division.
Yeah, wild. So it's kind of a lost season for the Dolphins again, but the only thing that's making it up is that the Jets and Patriots are both terrible as well. So Miami still very well will probably
Dude,
finish
how
in
bad
second.
are the Jets?
And the Jets are awful. My uncle couldn't put his Patriots in last, so he put the Jets there. Seemed crazy at the time, but I mean, I know New England lost again today, but I mean,
And a
the Jets are-
heartbreaker. You see
Yeah.
that guy? He only missed that 68-yard
by
field
what?
goal by like a couple yards.
Yeah, like 3 yards. Yeah, not good. AFC is just not good. Not what I thought they would be this year. NFC North is probably the best division in football. AFC North is, I mean, the Bengals' offense is good. The defense is not keeping them in game. AFC West is just looking so much better. I mean, I know the Raiders are terrible, but Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, that's all fun. NFC East, you just can't count on the Cowboys anymore with the injuries and the issues all season long, even when Dak was healthy. Commanders are a surprise.
Yeah, the Commanders have gotten better in a hurry.
I'm sure that makes you feel good.
Yeah. Ugh.
So the Eagles are going to get the win over Baltimore. That's a big win. I feel
a
like this
huge
is
win.
about this time last year where the Eagles started to fall apart.
Yes.
So now you beat one of the
You want
AFC's
to just
best
talk
teams.
about how this is only Lamar's this would be Lamar's second loss to an NFC team. He will be 23-2 against the NFC.
So now, honestly, I know Baltimore's like 8-5. That's not good enough. That is
No. Well, and they've lost some that. So this will be a bit of homerism tinkled in here, but like, look, this one isn't the problematic loss. It's at home, like, and maybe you didn't play very well. You've only put up 12 points so far. Like, there are some of those things can be problematic. But, like, this is one where you lost to a good team, but they've lost some games they had no business losing. You lost to the Chiefs on opening night, right? That's one that I think people are going to give you that one too. But, like, they've lost some that they don't have any – they had no business losing, and that's where those come back and get you.
So, the Buccaneers are losing to the Panthers.
Go Panthers.
That's wild.
I'm happy for Bryce Young if he could get that done. Like, just the way they kind of gave up on him and then were forced to go back to him. And, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to the NFL, we know each season there's about a 50% drop off or retention, however you look at it, of playoff teams.
Well, because as much as people don't want to admit it, because they're usually referring to their own team in here somewhere, is the talent gap between the NFL teams is relatively small.
Right.
Like
any given Sunday.
Right. And actually, I just had this conversation a little bit. Austin asked me if I thought like the best college team could beat the worst NFL team.
No.
And I said no. But then like I talked to him and explained that because like I could tell that was probably something he and his friends had been talking about. And I'm like, look, let's look at the best college team. You name them, whatever best team you want. You want to pick Georgia because they're kind of on top right now with the stars in terms of like producing pro talent. I'm like, they'll be lucky if half of those guys play in the NFL. That would be an absurd number if half of those guys make it to the NFL.
Right.
You look at some of those Alabama teams. You're talking rosters at like what, 110 probably, 115 in college. And if you got 20, 25 guys in the pros, that was ridiculous. So you're talking a quarter of the guys, whereas literally everybody on an NFL roster made an
Right,
NFL roster. Like
is there. They're big
so
time.
I'm just like, it doesn't work that way. And he got it. It was a good like conversation, but like, yeah. So like you're gonna have that turnover, but
So looking back, honestly, this year, I mean, it feels like it's a little bit more wide open, but looking at last year's teams, refreshing myself of everyone that made the playoffs last year, right now, I think there would only be two differences in the AFC. Unfortunately, my Dolphins would be out and the Browns would be out, but the Ravens are probably still going to be in. They may not win the North, but they'll be in. The Bills will win the East and be in. The Chiefs are likely going to win the West and be in. The Texans are likely going to win the South and be in. The Browns are out, Dolphins are out. The Steelers that may very well win the North. I don't know, but they're probably making the playoffs unless they would collapse. So that's only 2 out of 7 changes in the AFC. NFC, 49ers up in the air. They could still win the division, but they very well could miss it. Cowboys probably not making it. I guess they could squeak in at a wild card, but I don't see it happening. Lions are in. Bucks, who knows? I mean, they're losing now to the Panthers, and now I think the Falcons might have a 2-game lead on them. Eagles are going to be in. Rams, maybe. Packers, I would say definitely. Again, I'm barring a collapse. So NFC is a little bit more volatile this year. 49ers, Cowboys, Bucks, Rams maybe out, maybe. So 4 there. So 14 teams, you're looking at maybe 6. So just under 50%. It's maybe not as a crazy year. Or maybe we still see some of the top dogs up there. But honestly, I feel like in the AFC, it's been Ravens, Bills, Chiefs for a while. Like Ravens, Bills,
Yeah.
Chiefs have been up there for a while. I think it would be a big deal if the 49ers didn't make the playoffs.
And especially because is the Purdy signing have to come this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Or franchise tag?
Right. So we'll see. He had been injured. Do we know if he's definitely
he was
playing?
expected to play,
Expected to play. Yeah, well, that's that. We'll see. So it is fun to be back on this show. Justin and I started this show nearly closing in on 14 years ago. In
That's
February,
crazy.
it'll be 14 years, and done over 400 episodes. And we do have a lot of fun talking about pro and college sports as well. And we'll be doing that off and on until the summer when Bulldog Hour rolls around again. But we got at least one, hopefully fun show coming up here in the next month if it works out. It is kind of a crazy time to be trying to nail down the guests that we're trying to find because she's pretty busy with
That's all right.
with Penn State stuff. But I will reach out to the necessary people to see if there's a possibility of her appearing on the show. January 5th would be
awesome.
the point. And at that point, man, Penn State could have won the Big Ten and may have won a playoff game, which would be,
wild.
what a fantastic way to talk to her if Penn State was still playing football when she comes on the show on January 5th, if that were to happen. I hope it does. But all right, Justin, anything you want to say?
No, it's it's good to be back on this show. Kind of just giving the round, views on college and NFL. Hopefully, we have lots of fun things to talk about over the next month and a half or so.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%. I mean, like always, the Dolphins have disappointed me as it's been that way for nearly a quarter century now, more than half my life. But another great year from Penn State, and it's not over yet. And I enjoy watching all the NFL action. We're in the best time of the year, and that's it's December 1st, best month of the year. So it's not up for debate. Not gonna open the floor up to that one. So, all right. Well, we'll be back, like I said, and we're gonna miss the next 2 Sundays because of other events happening in and around the holidays. But we'll be back just before Christmas, Sunday, December 22nd, for episode 408. So that's it for us. So thanks for listening to this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. We'll see you again real soon.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.